sunrise until sunset, and dusk until dawn. Every minute of every hour of every day. On the front line, it's key workers keeping our country moving, putting themselves at risk to keep others safe, for the vulnerable, for the sick, for the young and the old. We rise to the challenge. We care, we protect, we help, we fix, we deliver for everyone. We will get through this, and it's thanks to our key workers. We're proud to represent heroes, and not all heroes wear capes. Key workers deserve recognition, protection and support. Get us on your side. Join us today.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to this pay update and discussion. I'm Steve Garlick, National Lead. I've got Nathan Bell with me. We had hoped to have Jason Forrow with us tonight, but he can't make it. I'm going to try and make sure that everything is running quickly and efficiently tonight. And the meeting won't have a specific set agenda because we're primarily going to be trying to answer questions, but there are a couple of things I just want to update on. During the course of the meeting, I will repeat it on several occasions. There will be a link coming up for you, which will also be followed by an email that's going out tomorrow because it's slightly behind with going out, which relates to the avatars. We hope to have the avatars who for those who have been able to put in a claim to request not having an avatar to go on. They'll just need to fill in a form and it will be added on to send in. So far we've got over 800 individuals in relation to this situation. And I just also wanted to just talk about the fact we're using StreamYard tonight. We will revert on the next meeting back to Zoom for members only, just because it's easier to handle the question aspect of Zoom. So I just wanted the that to do that. David Williams has asked the question also, can we explain the personalisation thing? Yes, we'll get to that shortly. I just want to give you some other updates as well whilst we're here. The company that Evri has selected for pensions is called Smart Pension. More information will be starting to come through in the next week or two, or in relation to Smart Pension and how the whole scheme will work for couriers. I'm still light on information, so rather than give you inaccurate information, I prefer to give you as accurate as possible. We'll run a separate meeting for that. The promise I made to you when I came on about having the calendar on the website has still not come to fruition, along with a couple of other things that we were hoping to have on, primarily due to issues with how the website works. I am promised it will be working in time, so we'll have those up. The other thing that we're waiting to go up is the first of our videos. Both Emma and Adam and Susie and Ed have done some videos in relation to HSP payments, and they'll be going up, and then we're going to add more to the library so people can sort of have a self-help benefit from that. So we're hoping to have that, along with FAQs, a whole FAQ section as promised. We are getting there. We are starting to get the comms where we need them to be. Andre's asked what the calendar is. The calendar shows when meetings are coming up throughout the year, either at a local level or a national level, just so people are fully aware if they need to bring anything to reps' attention. Ultimately, I promised it. It's been produced, but getting it uploaded is a real thing, unfortunately. So Once we can get it, we'll have it working properly, I'm sure. The other aspect I just want to go back to then is the avatar situation. The personalization has been a problem for some people. Some people have been seeing their image on local social media, and in terms of the risk that some people feel there is as a result of this, we've agreed with the company that if you do not want to show a likeness or an image of yourself within that icon, that round icon, then the company will remove that. So if you do not want to be part of that, then all you will need to do is basically fill in the form, and we'll get that across to you. If when we're starting to answer questions, I'll hopefully get the link up for you for it, because it's there. I think I've got it. I'll put it up actually now, and I'll put it up as a static image rather than a rolling image. So if you can just indulge me, I'll just create a banner for it and put it up now. And this is for avatars, and I'm just going to call it avatar link. So if you can, hopefully you'll see that come up in a second. I'm just changing it now, and there we are. It should be up there. Sorry, I need to space that a bit more because it's added the see if that works better, and if not, let me just remove the avatar link bit because it's putting it up incorrectly on the screen. Sorry about that, but hopefully that's the link you will need. It is available to members. Please feel free to use it. I'll put it up during the course of this meeting, so we can do that. What I'm going to try and do is try and answer some of the questions here, or get some of the questions up. Jenny's asked, why is there a deadline date on remove the photo 1st of July? Can this not be ongoing? That's a question, in honesty, I can't answer. If I can get more of an update on that during the meeting, I might just ask if we can come back to you on that. And I'll quickly answer fuel, because obviously this is a major topic. We are in discussions with the pay deal at the moment over what fuel looks like, and hopefully there will be some further news on this soon. Certainly, I think the company is not looking to remove the fuel supplement, and as soon as I know any more, we'll obviously get that to you. No, Matt, if you've already filled in a form, don't fill it in again. The email that's going out tomorrow will tell you that as well. There's no need to do that, obviously. And I'm just seeing Derek's Simon. I haven't forgotten your message afterwards. I'll go straight back to that. The company removed the option to print out on manifest due to data protection, and now want to plaster our pictures all over it. That is not data protection. Well, Derek, obviously we're taking steps on that front. So I think that's the question that you've come to hear the answer on today, and that's why we're trying to get this solution. So that, Nick, I don't know what stopped. Let me just go back up, because there's a question that I'll ask Nathan to answer. Could you please let us know whether the worker status rate reviews have been completed?
I don't honestly know. I would have to go back to Ed for that one. I haven't been part of that side of things because I'm not 194, but Ed is. But I will find out.
Okay, we'll get Simon, where possible, we'll come back directly to individuals with questions. Luke Davey had a question as well. was wondering if the telematics which was brought in because of the mandatory uniform was because of the mandatory uniforms, in which the company would like brought in themselves, and a request for HDI and not Marsh. Was a request of HDI and not Marsh. I don't quite understand, but the broker is Marsh. HDI is the insurer. If you look on HDI's website, when it comes to telematics, it's something they push on quite a lot. So, I mean, that's all I can tell you on that, Luke. If you want to elucidate more on that.
Sorry, Steve.
Go
I think
ahead.
what he's saying, is it because Marsh are providing, or HDI are providing the insurance? Are they insistent on that we have uniforms? And the answer to that is, as far as we're aware, no. The company have said they would like us to wear uniforms because it gives a professional appearance, and that would help the customer confidence ratings, of which Hermes has always traditionally scored very, very low. But if you look at people like Amazon, Royal Mail, DPD, you see those guys out in their uniforms, and that's what the company wants to emulate. They want a smart, professional-looking courier network. But as some of you pointed out, we're self-employed, so we can't, in theory, we can't be forced to wear uniforms. But Evri could just change the rules and say you have to wear them. So we think this is a key negotiating point. The company want us to look professional, so we want the company to act professional towards us. And that means paying us right, paying us on time, paying us fairly. So
Peter has asked the following question: If you Nick, if you've got a fuel payment that's stopped, please can you reach out to your rep and let them look into that, because that shouldn't, no payment should have stopped. Don't forget that if you think your mileage is more excessive than the range that you're being paid for, you still have the right to appeal. Peter's asked the following question: if you've had your photo removed, would you need to send Ed your personal no photo request? What I'm going to say is, just for safety, it mightn't hurt, Peter. Okay. Grosvenor Thomas. Soon after what they pay, not help us and then take off ETNSS due to claims because of failing GO non-compliance. We don't get paid for photos, so we lose always. As far as I understand, when it comes to the ETA and SOS payments, we are certainly putting in a fair amount of casework in relation to these and trying to claim back where possible. So I think obviously we have a particular view. Wherever possible, we want to make sure that we can get those back, and hopefully that helps. Natalie has also asked a question. I had a meeting Courier review today about standards if the company, etc. Waste of time if the customer service don't realise our info and the company don't look at us, hence pay deal. I'm maybe missing something here, so please forgive me, Natalie, if I'm not fully understanding. The one thing I will say is that there seems to be a fair amount of courier reviews lately where CDMs aren't necessarily carrying out the review. If this is happening to you, we dearly, desperately need to know. Please let your rep know, or your regional organizer. This is really important, especially as we are moving on to a lot of changes, even with the amount of DUs and everything else. So hopefully that gives some answer. But Natalie, if you want to elaborate a bit more, do come back to us. This is just a message from Emma. Emma, also, if you want to join us, I'll send through the room link if you want to join us on the screen here. Just say in the chat and we'll get you in. Evri don't own the broker. Marsh is one of the. I'll just put that up, John. Evri do not own Marsh. Marsh is one of the largest brokers in the City of London, and they cover many different risks for people. It's just a broker, much the same as your high street insurer, basically. And then Brian said a fuel subsidy should be abolished and replaced with an additional parcel rate. So something we can certainly put to the company. You're confused. What is the Evri Pay update? Well, we're updating people who couldn't ask questions last week because Zoom failed and it wouldn't allow people in. I'm sorry if you're confused, but if you need any extra elucidation, you're very welcome to contact your rep and they'll give you more clarity. The Courier review I had included wearing uniform and being professional. Well, no, the Courier review certainly shouldn't have had that, Natalie. Please drop us a line on that, and we'll see. So I'd like to see those slides that the CDMs are showing, because nothing is agreed on any of this at the moment. Darren, the fuel assistance, whilst it wasn't stunning, was brought in for everyone, because it was considered that if it was only given to GMB members, that frankly would be a very much a slap in the face for individuals, in a very different way from where we're negotiating pay negotiations that are where we're looking specifically for other values in the pay negotiations. Right. Darren's asking, how can you do Evri and Yodel work here if you're in Evri uniform? Well, you can take that off. I don't know how you'll be running the rounds together, Darren. Maybe this is something Nathan might have better clarity on.
If you're running the rounds simultaneously, I don't see it's feasible unless you decide to stick your Yodel t-shirt on top of your Evri t-shirt for the Yodel deliveries. If you're running them one after the other, then just change. But I don't know. I presume that if you're working them both at the same time, you'll be switching handsets. So when you switch handsets, you'd have to put a t-shirt on. But that's working on the assumption that we are going to be wearing an Evri uniform, and that hasn't been decided yet. That's just what the company have asked for. But we've also asked for things. And yes, Amazon do have a high vis, but it is very clear that it's Amazon. You know, a lot of them are in branded vans as well, which I know we're not. And that would be pushing towards franchises and stuff, which is something that we haven't discussed or looked into or anything like that. But I think that the point that the company was getting at was that you can identify somebody who works for Royal Mail, somebody who works for Amazon, somebody who works for DPD because of what they're wearing. And they want that for the couriers, which from a company perspective makes perfect sense. You know, you'd want your SE Plus couriers who own the rounds, who are scoring higher on a customer responses and customer feedback and satisfaction. You know, you'd want those people wearing the uniforms so that they can be seen and be seen to be doing a good job. I'm known in a lot of the households I deliver to. I'm the next man. I'm the ASOS man. I'm the parcel man. You know, and it would make a difference if I had an Evri t-shirt on every day that would say, "Oh, this is Evri delivering." But again, it's not something we haven't agreed to anything. It's just what the company's asked for.
Both Emma and Carl have brought up questions about telematics. The tracking aspect of this, basically, we've tried to give you the best overview as possible. The only thing I would say is there is a tracking going on anyway when you're delivering, although obviously they've said the tracking of the actual vehicular movement is based on anonymized data. So they found it very difficult to set up their software. That we already know how the app is far from perfect. But in terms of the fact that every time you're delivering a parcel, the data of where you've been, what you've been, how you've geofenced for that parcel does exist anyway. So you are providing out data of a nature that basically speaks to tracking anyway, because obviously the company and theoretically the customer or the person you're delivering to knows where that parcel has gone and has been. Maestro, Nathan, do you want to answer this, or shall I?
Why won't the company pay proper rates of pay if they want to be like the other providers? That's what our negotiation's about. We've gone to them and asked for the 7.8% pay rise, which was the CPI figure in April, I believe, Steve, when we put in the pay claim. Obviously, inflation's risen since then, but you can't go back and constantly adjust the inflation price. Equally, if the inflation had gone down, we would still be asking for 7.8%. That's part of the negotiation. So, we've asked them for a pay rise, and that's what we're waiting for them to come back with.
All right. Okay, Andre, we already know about the app being an issue. I think it's probably one of the biggest bugbears of many people. Just one other thing on the pay rates. Please do not presume that everything in the garden is roadie for DPD drivers. Believe you me, there are fines for even not having the right signage on the back of a vehicle. You can find that you come in to be told you're not going to be given a round, and many other things. I deal with DPD as well. It isn't totally perfect, and also for that matter, Amazon Couriers as well, for that matter, where we've got various problems.
I spoke to the only courier that delivers in my area, and she gets a flat rate of 80p a parcel. She gets about 60 to 70 parcels a day. She has to pay any claims; they get taken off her pay. She doesn't get any bonuses, any HSPs. She doesn't get any fuel supplement. She's got a much wider area than our rounds are. She's covering what Evri would have split into about 4 rounds. So when I looked at her figures and compared them to what I was getting, I was financially much better off on the Evri Pay format. Doesn't mean that it's the Oda one's wrong. And again, it doesn't mean that her pay is the best in Yodel. But it is something we're looking at. And if it's something that the company come to us and say, this is what we want to do, then it's a change of model. And we would have to sit around the negotiating table and talk about that, separate to any pay.
Mark has asked about wearing uniform, can't get them ordered. As I understand it, the first company that Evri had planned to work with 2 weeks before the whole startup of the brand change, the company pulled out for whatever reason. The product that they had isn't a catch-all, that's for sure. They obviously, if they're going to offer uniform, they're going to have to pay for people to take the uniform. They can't expect you to pay for it. But obviously, when you've got clothing that says service provider across it, like T-shirts, it's wholly inappropriate and sets the wrong tone. I think they're looking at some of this, which is why there might be a halt. We've also talked to them about whether there's foul weather gear or what uniform looks like. And it's not just about uniform, it's also about when people are carrying out sorts, whether they've got the right facilities to carry out a sort if they're not being allowed into the DU. This is something. Carl and Nick, based on the negotiations we're having, I was under the impression, rightly or wrongly, that the fuel payments were still coming through. On this basis, and the fact that Grosvenor has said that they appealed and got an uplift, I don't know if this is something that you're aware of.
I'm just looking at my last invoice because I'm pretty sure it was on there.
Yeah, if it isn't, then it might be Ed and Susie will love us for this. We might end up opening up.
Yeah, right. It was on my last invoice.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we have a secondary problem here. It looks like I'll be opening up a further sheet. If you're not receiving the full fuel supplement, please, can you get in touch with your rep? Once we realise what the scale of the problem is, we may have to get out a further aspect in terms of a link similar to the one you see here to get people onto a form.
Yeah, just check your on your latest invoice. Just check it's under additional service payments. Should say every fuel's price surge assistance, and it'll most likely be a very small number.
Okay, but we need to know, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and I think, you know, Ed and Susie may be trying to sort this according to a message I've just had. Matt said, look, I agree with everything you just said, but we could be screwed over. Just, you know, turn up the next day and deliver. Look, obviously, there's a lot to be fixed. And those are some of the discussions that we need to have with the company as well. I'm just going to remove that because I'm really mindful that obviously you can't see Nathan. His camera just needs to be a slight tad higher, otherwise he's cut off near the bottom of the screen.
Oh, sorry, I'm just leaning down because I'm working on my laptop underneath taking notes.
No worries. Derek, yes, if there's going to be if there's an expectation on uniforms, we would expect them. You know, that there would be enough for people to be able to change over, especially if there's foul weather or anything else. So, you know, it's got to be fit for purpose.
Yeah, we did say that in the meeting as well. We said that they would have to provide sufficient clothing so that you could do, you know, 3 T-shirts minimum. So you could do at least 2 days before you needed to wash stuff. We said they would need to provide wet weather gear, additional jackets. There would need to be an exchange scheme so that if you got your T-shirt was torn or your jacket ripped or caught by a dog or whatever, that you can then exchange that for a new piece of uniform so you're not looking scruffy. These are all the things we challenge them back on to say that, you know, you need to provide all of this stuff and it needs to be free. So if this was something that we ended up doing, it would have to be a free uniform. Which to me, personally, I don't have a problem with. If they're going to provide me free clothes to wear for work so I'm not spending my own money on my own clothes, bearing in mind I can cover the cost of washing the uniform out of my taxes, I'm quite happy with that. But there needs to be a bit of give and take.
Yeah, that's good. So Paul Quinn has brought up the 120 parcels a day. Paul, I'll be honest with you. I think we're miles from even getting anywhere near this. Knowing how the company move, knowing how balancing and rebalancing has worked, and the fact that it's not possible in certain situations. I think it's something that may need to be put on ice and come back to at a later stage. Eli, no, we won't vigorously oppose the demand on uniforms. The company have the right to make a demand. We'll do all we can to make sure that couriers are compensated accordingly. I'm not entirely sure what that will look like until we get further down the line in negotiations. But ultimately, there's many people actually have the preference to at least have a jacket that they don't have to cop out for. That they can get clean rather than, you know, basically damaging their own clothing, especially when, you know, I think there's several couriers I know who've had either oil or paint on their clothing following items being delivered, you know, a damaged item which then needs replacing of their own rather than something that could be replaced by the company might be a better. No, John, I said you missed the beginning of the meeting. There hasn't been any updated payoff beyond what we've already told you about previously. The one difference with these meetings, because I think there was a question about whether this was recorded, you will be able to look at it on GMB's London region Facebook or YouTube page or even on Twitter. And it'll just be up there for you to go into anytime. The Zoom meeting last week did not record, basically because of problems with Zoom's entire network. You'll find details of that, but frankly, their network went down, and the night it went down was when we had the meeting, which is why we've tried to do this in short order so it could record. Nick, no, it didn't, as you've just been told. The fuel supplement didn't end. If you've got a problem with your source supplement, we've now told you twice. Please write in. Okay. Thank you. Luke, anyone can set up a Facebook group. It's their choice and their decision. I have no control over them. GMB doesn't run a Facebook group. In fact, just a brief apology. Last week when I sent out an update, I actually put Facebook on as well, which was an error. We have it for Uber, and I'm used to writing out for London members, for the Uber drivers, that they can also get information on the Facebook group that we run for Uber drivers. So apologies for that. We got it changed on the website as soon as I was made aware kindly by a member. Okay. How do we ensure we're not including the star bonus personalization system? I've requested not to be included. I would not be.
You'll still get emails telling you about your performance. The only bit you can ask for not to be included is your photograph, but you will still be rated by your customers. You can't opt out of that, I'm afraid.
Okay, so it's just the standard comms. Yeah, Darren said, can you get any extra fuel payments? I'm afraid not. I don't think that will be part of the pay negotiations. The company seem to feel as well that if they're going to make a fuel allowance, it will need to be for everyone. Okay, so customer service don't know how we work or what we can do. They need training to how we work before promising companies will come back at the certain time of day. It was very interesting, Lisa, because from my perspective, I've even asked regional officers to go out now with couriers to actually understand the job of a courier. And I think I had the conversation in a meeting not so long ago with management about the fact that we would like to see all levels of managers going out with a courier to actually understand the job. It's something I'll push on more. We're due to also start to meet CDMs shortly, and CDMs should be also passing out details of the union to new couriers. They're failing to do that. Some of this needs fixing. The next one is Suzanne McLean.
Yeah, so on this one, when the company brought in the packet rate, I believe they said they were expecting no more than 10%. Unfortunately, the company don't set the parcel sizes that fit what the customers order. Basically, the customers' ordering patterns have changed, and where customers 2-3 years ago will have ordered a couple of t-shirts, a pair of jeans, a few pairs of socks and a dress or whatever from a company, and they'd be sent out in one bigger bag. They're now ordering one pair of jeans. They're not ordering 3 pairs in different sizes to see which one fits. They're just ordering one and sending it back. So unfortunately, it's the customers' blend of what they purchase that has actually fundamentally changed, and that's why we're getting more packets than anything else. There's the argument about the packet size compared to the weight, and the size of a standard being the same, but that's something we are always on the lookout for.
Alan, I'm sorry you're disappointed that your colleagues are asking other questions that don't relate always directly to the pay deal. But some people come to these meetings because they need reassurance or updating on other things that they haven't been able to ask the question on. If everyone agrees that we should not discuss any of these right now, then we can do that. I'm fine with that. But obviously, I want to make sure this is as inclusive as possible because not all of the meetings would normally be on this platform. So is it that? Well, I'm sorry, Emma, if you're not happy with the format of tonight and it's not giving you all the information. As I said, there were certain people who didn't get information last week. If you would like it to be purely about the pay deal, ultimately we can go back through that again, and then I can, we can finish the meeting a bit earlier. That's not a problem for me. We can do that as well if that's your preference. I have no way of doing a ballot on this system, I'm afraid, to do that. But if you'd like to, if over the next 2 or 3 minutes you'd like to put a message that you prefer this purely about the pay deal and nobody to ask any other questions, can you just quickly put a message in the comment section. I'll try and look at all of that, and then draw a conclusion based on what you're requesting here, and then we can change the direction. No, Paul, it won't be pay deal and then any other business. It'll be one or the other. We'll run a separate meeting if that's the case. But basically, that's what we'll do. So I'm just going to let everyone know. We just go back up because I think that's generally what people want. I'm just going to see. I'll wait for a few more. Okay, Kevin, just to say the uniform aspect was part of the pay deal. Veritas, we won't be discussing the telematics now because I think people only want to discuss that. Tammy, there is no new update. It was just for those who couldn't make last week's meeting beyond the emails that we've already sent out. Okay. And Nick, I've told you now, I think 5 times, maybe 4, that the fuel supplement has not ended. You've already been told how to deal with that. I will not be repetitious of this again. You've been told quite clearly if it's not showing on your statement to contact your rep. Okay, I won't discuss fuel supplements now. I will not be discussing how DPD are paid or any of the other things because obviously this is where we're at. Okay. Carl's going to say he's going to email the comms on that. Yes, please, because obviously this seems to be odd. For 194 status couriers, just while we're waiting, the contact would be Ed or Susie for those issues. And that's fine. I'm just waiting. I'm just going to quickly check through these messages. Keith wants more than pay deal. Nick and Gary want pay deal. Natalie wants pay deal. No, Natalie, it'll only be pay deal. It won't be packet racket. Eli, it won't be a compromise. Alan wants pay deal. So, okay. We'll only deal with the pay deal because this is what everyone wants to do. There won't be any discussion over any of the other aspects. I'll obviously remind you that the notice board has got details of the offer, the counter offer that Evri made. We've said that it's not acceptable. That was a one-off payment of £500 for GMB members only to retain the fuel supplement until diesel drops between 170 a litre. So that seems to counter the commentary that the fuel supplement has been removed. Mandatory uniform, a change to the SAS criteria to include 96% on collections deliveries to rise to 98%. Sorry, I'm just scrolling this. The certain elements of this, including the HSP, an additional 50p HSP, those who would not opt in would have a reduced HSP of £3 a day. All of these were pretty much considered deal breakers, and the company's been told to come back with a revised offer. That hasn't come yet. As soon as it comes fully and is something that might be valuable, then we'll try and put it to you, and we'll go from there. As I said, there are people are putting certain comments in here. We won't be answering them tonight because it's been made clear that people only want to discuss the pay deal. So I'm afraid if you had other questions, we'll have to leave that for another time. So I'm just going to see if there's any. Kevin, I'll put up a link for the GMB notice board right now. So you'll find it right here on the base. It should start to show. There you go. If there's any problems in anyone linking that, all you have to do is do every notice board. And we'll
if you just type in, go onto Google and just type in GMB Evri as the first link that comes up. And that has all of the news briefs, the emails, everything on there.
Yeah. Keith's asked a question about surveys. We will get to surveys. There's also a manual handling survey I intend to send out. Okay. Obviously, Carl, all I can tell you is what we've been told by the company in terms of the pay offer, which we put up on the GMB notice board. I'm not going to repeat on this. Andre, I'm not entirely sure, but we'll ask the question. Regarding the uniform in the pay deal, are we able to have our own uniform made up with company logos?
Well, let's not forget it hasn't been agreed yet. So whether or not it actually happens is anyone's guess. I would imagine we're not able to make up our own uniform. I'd imagine the company would feel very strongly about that. But it's certainly a point we can raise when we sit back around the table with them in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Right, Lisa, negotiations have started, but we're waiting for a valid response from the company that may be more palatable than what's on offer at the moment. There's too many things, including the 120 parcels and a whole load of other things.
Yeah. So when we sat around with them a couple of weeks ago, we'd given them our pay claim, and they sat down with us and presented us with what you see on the notice board there about the £500 payment, retaining the diesel offer, mandatory uniform, all that stuff. And then they talked us through what they actually wanted. We then said basically no to all of it. We don't want any of this. You haven't included rate protection. You haven't included a PRG increase. You haven't included all the other stuff that we asked for. And we asked them to go away, look at it, and to come back to us with a new proposal that we were rejecting that offer. This will carry on and carry on and carry on until the company says this is the final offer. And at that point, we will then bring you the final offer for you to vote on, whether or not you want to accept it or not. And obviously, we will suggest accepting it or suggest rejecting it based on the fact of whether or not there's a rate protection in there. Because let's not forget, if there's no rate protection in there, everything else that is written in that is just a pure fairy tale.
Darren,
they could change it all.
Darren, you said 120 passes are manageable and proper all round. I think, as you may have missed earlier, I did make that comment. It's been asked why the FAQs from last week's meeting went up. As a previous advice for those who were already here, but those who have missed it, Zoom failed last week, so therefore the information that should have been able to be taken from the Zoom meeting didn't download or record. So unfortunately, we couldn't capture everything. The chat was the only thing that downloaded rather than the Q&A, which is really, really disappointing. We just wanted to be safe and do this meeting this way tonight, but we will revert back to Zoom. No, there isn't a deadline, but we've had it on good authority from Evri. They do want to move things quite quickly, and we are expecting some answers soon. So we'll see where we are. Darren, you've had your question answered. In terms of Jenny's commentary on safety risk, the same risk would exist for those in Royal Mail, DPD, Amazon, and Sainsbury's, and many other places where people are delivering with provider information, especially if you're working for Yodel and the like. So I don't think we'll be able to argue that well, because the company would counter with, well, many other organisations and individuals wear uniform. And obviously, one of the things we do need to look at is how we deal with safety issues. It's something that needs to improve. Whether we also need to look at a panic button within the app, or other aspects to try and find where we're at. Jenny, you're asking about whether GMB doesn't agree with Evri. What action will be looked at? I think we're far too early to say where we're at with that, and we'll discuss that when the time comes. Because frankly, we just haven't got that far. Keith, I understand what you're saying about uniform as well. You said you don't want to particularly advertise for them, finding other ways to pay. So hopefully we'll see what the company is. Robert, this is only about the pay deal. We're only talking about the uniform, which is part of the pay deal, and also what the offers are, and if the offers are acceptable, what the answer to that will be. So I'm not entirely sure what isn't being covered by that. People are asking about the uniform primarily because it's a matter dear to their heart. And ultimately, we don't want to see that happen. Peter's asked the question, look, we were told we did not vote yes to a final offer. They would just go ahead. I just want to speak to this. What you ended up with as a result of last year's vote was collective bargaining, which does bring a value. And hopefully we'll see an improvement in the offer that the company's made. There are certain things missing from it that we're not totally happy about. And Brian's just on this front. Surely the GMB go to the press after a no vote. We have the option to advise people if we have a rejection, but as I said, we haven't got to anywhere near this, and we've got a long way to go. So Simon, some couriers have their own company uniforms. Are you representing our rights or theirs? If you can't make a self-employed business wear your uniform, simple as. Well, the advice we've had is actually somewhat different. But if you want to show me that information, I'd be happy to look at it, knowing where we've been with the fact that we've got worker rights for drivers at places such as Addison and the like, where they're wearing a uniform and or a liveried vehicle, which obviously shows the brand name on it. And it's because they have those worker rights that the company has agreed that, or the court has agreed that there's a certain element of control there. And because there's an element of control, that would add the uniform aspect. So that's where we're at. Paul, when we haven't even got to a stage where we've got a final offer yet. This is a negotiation. So until we are complete on that front, there's very little we can do. And that's that. It's a very funny joke, but that's in relation to the panic button, Darren. But it doesn't really chime. Right. Right, Amanda, this is not related to the pay deal. I can't answer that. Elizabeth, we can't answer that. It's got nothing to do with the pay deal, I'm afraid. It's been made clear this can only be about the pay deal tonight by others. Sorry, Emma, I'm sorry you're so confused over this. If you want to contact your rep because of the confusion, that's fine. We've given you an update. We've reconfirmed things. People are asking questions. If there's something else you're unhappy about, if you'd like to send a message to your rep about what you're unhappy about, that's fine. But I don't know what the confusion is about. We've updated on the pay. I've gone through the terms again. So I'm really sorry if you're finding a situation. Andres asked, what's the difference between a negotiation and a finished deal? Would you like to answer, Nathan?
Yeah, the negotiation is the bit that takes you right up to the finished deal. We presented the company with our requirements or our pay claim. The company came back to us and said, this is what we are thinking. We then gave them feedback on that, including mandatory uniform. You'll have to provide it free. And if you do want us to look professional, you need to treat us professional. So you need to pay us correctly, give us a pay rise, look after us, make sure your DUs are up to scratch, all of this stuff. They came back and said, we want 120 minimum working volume. We said, do you have the system capability to do that? How are you going to sort out potentially a round that may vary in volume and location? And they said, well, we don't know. We're going to have to look into that. So we've told them to take that away. That's not for this pay deal. It's an aspirational thing. That's what we did in the meeting. We said pretty much rate protection is the line in the sand. If you don't give us rate protection, that's a deal breaker. So they said they would go away and they would look at it, and then they'll come back to us with another one. We'll sit around the table and we'll negotiate on that as well. And please don't forget that we are couriers as well. We don't negotiate and we don't ask for things that we want. We ask for things that you guys asked for in the survey that we did in February. We took all those comments. There was multiple thousands comments, blocked them into sectors about rates, pay, HSP and bonuses, recognition, everything like that. We pulled together many of the comments into sections, and we spent a lot of time working on getting this down to a sort of a manageable band, and that was those 9 points. So we will keep negotiating until we get what we want, or the company says, this is it, take it or leave it, and then we will come to you.
Jenny, as I said, we're not going to be waiting till November, I think, for an improved offer. As soon as we have it, we'll bring it to you. Suzanne, what has been offered is on the Hermes page on the notice board. So pardon me, every notice board. So it is there, and then. So I'll just go. Darren's saying round protection as well as rate protection. Well, I think the problem with that, Darren, is rounds are ever evolving and changing. You could say that a round could change if extra streets are added on and the like. That might make difficulties for some. So I don't know whether that would be totally possible. That might be something Nathan could answer better than myself, though.
Yeah, I mean, round protection, the company are very clear. They want the SC Plus couriers to deliver for them. The lifestyle couriers are there to cover and pick up the bits where we're not available. SC Plus couriers get a better customer satisfaction rating, and they want that. The round protection, Evri can rebalance the rounds as many times as they want. They're not bringing on any extra SC Plus couriers. So what they've got is what they've got. You can work with the planner and the CDM, and your rep will do this with you to extend your round, to grow it slightly, to borrow from another round that's maybe not covered by an SC Plus courier. We have many rounds which are done daily by lifestyle couriers, and Evri have been very, very clear. Lifestyle are just cover couriers. So if you want extra work, speak to your rep, speak to your CDM and say, I want extra work. Round protection, they've come back to us with this offer of we want to agree a future working model where we change to a volume-based rather than a location-based model. We've said, you need to go away and look at it in more detail and come back to us when you've got the capability to actually do this. We're not going to agree to change the working model when we don't know what it's going to be changed to. And I don't know about this 76% of the depots. There was nothing like that mentioned, just from what I can remember, around the table. The other 24% don't get enough to do that. I'm not honestly sure. The company said this ideal volume of a minimum of 120 a day. I don't know how they would intend to apply that.
I don't think they know what it looks like in absolute honesty. And that's the real truth. They don't know what it looks like, and until we've got more on that, I think it's fair to say that we'll revert back to everyone once. Keith, you're not being rude, but basically we flatly turned down what was offered because we didn't think it was appropriate, or even something that most people would countenance, e.g. The lump sum. So. We went back and said, there's lines here. We want the guarantee. They weren't offering guarantee. They've not offered the holiday that we asked for. Some of 7.51 they haven't offered. Some of these things need solutions. Simon, I'm not entirely sure whether the whole uniform thing is funny. I personally don't find it that mirthful. Obviously, the company did. So I'm a little confused where the humour in it is, because there's obviously a great deal of feeling over that in the meeting. Well, I'm sorry you feel the GMB asked for the change of date to happen without asking members. But Nathan, do you want to comment?
Yeah, so this was for years. The members have been saying that they are fed up with the pay being incorrect every single month on month, and the amount of chasing that they have to do through the reps or through Courier admin.
It just occurred to me, Nathan, I'm going to cut this because I realised that actually this isn't part of the pay negotiation discussion. Sorry, I've gone off piste, everyone who wanted this to be purely about the pay negotiation. Brian, as we said, I don't want to sort of go over old ground, but on the 120 front, until we've got something to show you, I think we really need to just park that until we've got something we can tell you that's got some real value, and that's that. Rate protection is an important concept for the company to grasp. Right now, rate protection is an important concept to embrace for future. Look, we've already said that we want rate protection for GMB members. I've made no different claim than I already said when I first took this role, that I was looking for aspects that would positively be of value to GMB members. That's one of the things which wasn't on the offer from the company. We've said clearly it does. In terms of that, I can't say any more than that. Obviously, on the 120 parcels a day, a lot of people have said the same on this, and that's where we are. There aren't any further questions in relation to the pay offer. We will try and run in the next couple of weeks a separate meeting for those in relation to other issues. As I said, I won't be discussing this. Eli, I don't know everything, unfortunately. The reality is I'm also reliant on what I'm told by the couriers and the reps to follow a fuller knowledge beyond this and where it works, because each round is different. So I'm afraid there's a presumption that this makes a difference, and rounds change unfortunately on a daily basis, and I think that's part of the problem here. Alice, this is something that you'll have to discuss in the next meeting, which will just discuss general questions. So that's where we are. Look, Nathan, I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight.
No problem.
Obviously, we have some other reps on over the next few weeks, but thank you very much for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Bye.
From sunrise until sunset, and dusk until dawn, every minute of every hour of every day. On the front line, it's key workers keeping our country moving, putting themselves at risk to keep others safe, for the vulnerable, for the sick, for the young and the old. We rise to the challenge. We care, we protect, we help, we fix, we deliver for everyone. We will get through this, and it's thanks to our key workers. We're proud to represent heroes, and not all heroes wear capes. Key workers deserve recognition, protection and support. Get us on your side. Join us today.